Okay, well, before we get going, the mayor sends his apologies. He's
Disease.
ill tonight, so I guess I was the one that you got stuck with. So with that, also one of the things that I'd like to do tonight, and more for Les's tape, is we have an interim CAO. So Les, if you could pan
over.
over there. Ron Mazuzzi, thank you for helping us out here for these next few months, Ron. And for anybody out there, if you see Ron on the streets, introduce yourself, show them why Grand Forks is such a great place. So,
Thank you, Worship. Thank you, Council.
having said that, we'll call this meeting to order. Before we adopt the agenda, we have a late item presented to us. So if everyone's read the late item, we'll get a motion to add it to the agenda. Moved by Neil, seconded by Councillor Thompson. All in favor? And we'll add that, and that'll be what, 12B, is it?
Yep.
Okay.
It's only the mayor I call it.
12.
Okay, with that addition, could I have a motion to adopt the agenda? Councillor Corlick, second Councillor Studley. All in favor? And that's carried. Adopt the minutes of the special go-in-camera meeting. Moved by Councillor Krog, second Councillor Corlick. All in favor? And adopt the minutes of the regular meeting. Moved by Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Corlick. All in favor? Any business arising from the minutes?
Yes, Your Worship. There was mention in there of postponing the discussion on council remuneration till after UBCM. I did attend the UBCM and the session on council remuneration. I do have the report that the UBCM wrote as well. There are some the basic principle was remuneration should not be a barrier to service. There were some specific recommendations or best practices they noted. They wrote the report by canvassing the province and investigating for best practices. And basically, for the timing of the issue, the best practice is to it goes through a council remuneration review a year before the election, so that the review can be put in place and a new remuneration be put in place prior to the election. There were other reports as well that parts of the report that bear a little bit on us, but I think it's a question of timing, Your Worship. So I'd like to propose a motion or make a motion that we put off the investigation of council remuneration till October 2021, which is a year before the election.
Okay, so that's your motion. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Studley. All in favor of that motion? And that's carried. So just a comment to staff that I know we have a bylaw out there, so if our motion or any previous motions conflict, please let us know. Thank you. No delegations, unfinished business, nothing there. Council reports. Does anyone want to speak to the report? Councillor Corley.
Yes, I just want to say that we've had a busy little time. Attended UBCM, spoke with, as well as the rest of the council and the mayor, with 3 ministers regarding mostly our situation with flooding and a few other things. So it was very productive. Also went to a committee action team meeting, which was my first one, and the first time I was upstairs in the fire hall too. So it was very interesting. It was good, well attended. There was a great range of people and walks of life there. So I thought that was good. Also went to the Mennonite disaster team recognition. They have done an amazing job at getting many of the houses back on track and people in them and comfortable. I had toured one house at one point, and that young man has a better house now than I think he would have ever had, so kudos to them, it's just quite amazing. And I also attended the dedication of the affordable housing units on 19th, and we had a tour of the townhouse in the first floor, two-bedroom apartment. People are going to be very comfortable in there for whatever time, however they choose, long they choose to live there. So it's been a busy week with things like that, so that's my report.
Thank you. Councillor Hurlick, Councillor Marsden.
Yes, Your Worship, I'm not going to go over my report. Just draw attention to, I think, three items. I guess the first one is the first part of the report, the Social Service Advisory Group, which is going to meet October 15th, Tuesday, 1:15 at the Regional District boundary. The minutes of the agenda of that meeting are coming out. We'll be forwarding that to council as soon as I sort of get the green light. I took the minutes, I want to inform council that I took the minutes of the previous meeting. And one of the reasons I've delayed in sending them out to council, because I was looking for a chair to run them by, and we lost the chair. Took losing a chair has taken the wind out of the sails of that meeting. And of course, the first item on the agenda of that meeting is who's going to chair it, right? As the executive director of Boundary Family Support Services, who's called the group together, has made it very clear he doesn't want to chair it. So the question is, who should chair it? Okay, I do also want to draw council's attention to the fact that this morning you referred a lot of business to the staff when you asked staff to come up with suggestions for Moto as well as an emergency shelter, right? I'm kind of hoping that those are items that are on this committee's agenda as well. I'm kind of hoping that, between the advice coming from the committee, it will be a benefit to staff as they put together the report. Is that okay? The second thing I'd like to comment on is that in emergency services, halfway down my report, the Fraser Basin Council, that's where real money is involved when it comes to flood. I shouldn't say it quite like that. But they are watching our community very carefully, because they're, how we handle the disaster will set a precedent for a much bigger area in the province with a lot more at stake. And they are having quite a process there. And if you were a flood victim or have some experiences, I'm hoping to pass on the What We Learned report to them too. You can find out how you can participate in their flood strategy at floodstrategy.ca. The last thing I want to report on from my report is Tony and Tina's wedding. I want to congratulate Councillor Evan Studley for his part in it. There was another elected official in it as well. Ms. Bronwyn Bird, a school trustee, and we had a local RCO himself was part of the wedding party. So it is always a joy to watch community theater when you know the people in it, and a lot of family was in it. You see that. You see the connections between the people behind the scenes, behind them acting. Anyhow, so it was a great party. I'm looking forward to another wedding soon, just like it. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Marsden. Anyone else? Councillor Crock.
Yeah, I don't have a report, but just found out some interesting news. He's not going to be here anymore.
I was gonna tell anybody, but
Yeah, this is your last meeting here?
yeah. So Friday's my last day here in Grand Forks and going to Nelson, which is really exciting. I'm not technically leaving because it's home, right? So I'm gonna come back and join the fire department one day. I got plans, but yeah, I'm gonna go do some other things for a bit.
Well, thank you for being here.
Yes.
Thank you
Which
for coming.
Are we still going to hear you on the radio?
A different one, but yes, it does still reach here, so, yeah.
Is there, excuse me, is there do you have a replacement?
I was with somebody here this
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah.
Nothing is set in stone, but I am training her, presumably because she's gonna take over, but nothing is like official yet.
Well, congratulations.
I bought some time.
Oh, nice going.
No, I'm kidding. No, it's, yeah. We get people coming, and they're good, they're nice, and they report, and then they leave.
Just
And
get
some
ready.
stay.
Thank you,
That
Council.
last two.
Thank you. Christine?
Yeah. One thing that I didn't include in my report is, excuse me, Councillor Corlack and I stood out
Oh, yes.
on the
I forgot
street from, I would say, 2 o'clock until 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
On the Wednesday, supporting the truckers, the logging trucks. That was such a sight to see, that the
Made my heart
trucks
full to burst.
come through. We were able to explain to people that aren't from Canada what it was all about. Gave me an opportunity to tell 2 groups from the United States that we have peaceful demonstrations in Canada. And my poor little feet were so sore I couldn't go to the reception that night. But it was really, I couldn't believe the number of trucks that kept coming. I mean, our hotel was on Hastings Street, and they just kept coming and coming and coming and coming.
Were you,
Yeah.
Oh, you bet that. And they did in turn. So, no, it was really.
yeah, it was supposed to be really impressive.
When you
It was.
heard them, you couldn't help but feel for them. And they are from my hometown of Fort St. James, Vanderhoof, Fort St. John, Dawson Creek, all over the province. And those drivers, I mean, that's only a touch of the people that are impacted by the mill closures. It's just not the log truck drivers, whatever they call them. It's the people that work on those trucks. It's the fallers. It's the people that run the businesses in the community. It's everybody. They are in a mess, and my heart just went out to them so
Yeah,
much.
they came from Merritt. They thought actually they would maybe have 80 trucks.
Yeah.
Then I was talking to my daughter, she thought, no, I think it's around 200. It was 415 trucks.
One being pulled by a tow truck.
Yeah.
Big tow truck.
Yeah, it's like I'm not being left out.
No.
So yes, that was the only thing I wanted to ask.
Yeah, thank you, Councilor. Councilor Studley, would you like to add anything? Or?
I'd just like to congratulate the Boundary Peace Initiative for their great event, Peace In, Peace Out. That went very well.
Yeah.
Boundary Music and Theatre Society for, like say, Tony's and Tina's wedding. I just played a small part in that, but I think everybody that did come out to it, everyone that took part in it, it was a great event, lots of good feedback.
Okay, thank you. And I personally don't have a report myself, but I would encourage anybody out there to read Councilor Roslin's and Councilor Thompson's written reports. There's a lot of good information on what we did at UBCM and what happened there, and thank you very much for those reports. So, moving on.
Do we have to leave there?
Oh, sorry, yes. Motion to accept council reports. Councilor Corlick, second, Councilor Kraut, all in favor? Thank you very much. So we won't have a report from RDKB. So we're on to recommendations from staff for decisions. First up, development variance permit for proposed non-medical cannabis. Does staff want to make a presentation at all on this?
Thought we figured it out this morning.
Okay. Having said that, any comments, any, Councilor Studley?
Yeah, I know some of you were concerned about sort of Dazzle Dance and maybe their thoughts on it, so I contacted the owner because we sort of know each other. And their main concern wasn't necessarily the type of business, but just how they advertise. They're more concerned about sort of a big bold storefront with obvious signs of what they were selling. They were more in favor of a more subtle storefront. That was their only concern, was that.
Councilor.
Councillor, Your Worship, I just had a question on procedure. I see by the submission that a development variance permit application was submitted over the distance from the Dazzle Dance. Does that mean that we automatically, my question through you, Your Worship, to staff, does that mean we automatically have to go to a formal public hearing if there's a variance application?
Through you, Mayor, no. With development variance application, it's notification to surrounding property owners, not a formal public hearing.
Okay,
So the public feedback session is associated with the cannabis license.
okay, but it's nothing, so we don't need to have a separate one over the variance, over the variance of the distance?
No, we can combine them that way to expedite.
Yep, great, thank you.
Okay. So there's no other questions. Do I have a mover for this? Councillor Krog, the seconder. Councillor Corlick, all in favor? And that's carried. That is it for recommendations from staff. Financial plan amendment. We saw this previous. This is the final reading. Unless there's any questions.
Could you guys use your microphones? People out there can't hear you. Thank you.
The answer to that is no.
Maybe the mayor's at home.
You just have to pull it out from underneath the desk.
Oh, the old casino, I think. Good, sorry about that. Better, Les? Okay. So we have a financial plan amendment. This is for the final reading. We've seen it before. So unless there's any questions from council, I'll look for a mover. Councillor Krog, secondary, Councillor Thompson, all in favor? And that's carried. Same thing here, different title basically. Revenue anticipation borrowing bylaw. Again, it's before us for final reading. Councillor Thompson moving it. Second, Councillor Corlick, all in favor? And that's carried also. Late item, asset management and investment plan update. Can we have staff speak to this one, please?
Yeah, it doesn't work. Thank you, Mr. Acting Mayor. At UBCM, I had a chance to meet with some of the members from the UBCM committee and discuss with them some of the options for updating our plan in a relatively cost-effective way for us. Ultimately, we've got a quote for about $25,000 for the total plan. Through this particular grant, we can get about half of it paid for. And then FCM has a matching grant that's supposed to come out within the next couple of weeks again, that we could apply for if we get this grant to further match it by another, I think the total amount of 80%, up to 80%. At the end of the day, it would be a relatively cost-effective way for us to get our plan updated. The last time the plan was done was in 2010, 2011, and the dollars don't quite work nowadays anymore with nowadays construction values. It would be good to have accurate values to keep doing our asset management program.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions from council? I do have one question. I presume that this will go out for an RFP and we'll see who we have responding, or?
Thank you. Yeah, so currently this is just for the grant application. Afterwards we'll follow purchasing policy. So if we have the engineer, this could take several months before this is complete and we would be awarded the grant. At that point we would follow purchasing policy to either with engineers of records that have already been procured as per our purchasing policy, or a separate process.
Okay, and thank you. And that was sort of my concern, is if we're going out for to relook at our asset management plan, I would hope that we would get a new set of eyes on it. Not necessarily the same group that has done it before. But if we're going to get a bang for our buck, it'd be nice to see qualified obviously, but, and you said about is on our asset management program, that's no concern.
Thank you. So we did get a work plan, a current work plan, what Urban Systems, our current engineer of record, would be doing to update our plan. Now they've worked on the previous plan, and this here would basically be updating the values, putting them into a format that would suit current standards. So we'll have to see what it's like if we get the grant or not. That's still to be determined. Yeah, so the work plan that we currently got for 25,000 is updating it from our current engineer of record.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Thompson.
So what I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that we need the resolution to apply for the grant.
Correct.
And then we can deal with the details of RFPs and the like, if we're successful in receiving that.
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions? Looking for a mover then? Councillor Thompson, seconder, Councillor Corlick, all in favor? And that is carried. Item 12B, the late item. Any questions from council?
High-tech washer dryer, because you can't wash that stuff in a regular washers.
Digital. Seeing no questions, do we have a mover for this? Councillor Corlick, seconder, Councillor Thompson. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay.
So, I guess we're questions from the public. Seeing that everything's running smooth, a motion to adjourn. Councillor Corlick,
Look at us all.
all in favor? And thank you.